Welcome to the 2025 virtual IBESC. My name is Jennifer Tyler, and I'm the administrative host for this Zoom room. We're going to be in charge, or I will be in charge of recording this session. We've started recording already, which will be posted on our website after the event. If you're uncomfortable with the recording of you being shown on our website, email us after this session. Before we start, I want to lay out a few reminders before turning it over to the judges. First, please remember we employ blind judging. Teams, when you introduce yourselves, please remember to use your team name and not your schools. In order to enable a better focus on the teams and judges, we're going to ask the observers to keep their microphones muted and video feed off. We'll do the same, or I will do the same once the session starts. Teams and judges, please keep your microphones muted when you're not speaking to reduce background noise and the possibility of feedback. If for any reason there's a technical problem that prevents your team from finishing your presentation, your team will not be penalized and will be invited to reschedule. Are there any questions? Okay. Okay, great. So I'm going to turn it over to the judges. And as I said, we are already recording. And yeah, I'm going to turn off my microphone and video along with the observers.
All right. Thanks, Jennifer. Well, welcome team, and thank you. Good afternoon for being here. My name is Nathan Russell. So the judges, we will introduce ourselves. You will still stay in character, introduce yourself, and then I'll go through a script. So I'm Nathan Russell. I'm the senior judge for this session, and I'm associate director, work for Raytheon Company, defense aerospace firm, and I've been working on this competition or doing this for about 6-7 years.
Hi, Cynthia Hunt. I'm actually based in Chicago, and I'm enjoying my third, maybe fourth year of being a judge. I have a background, undergraduate degree in accounting. I'm a CPA, but along my career through corporate finance and consulting, I morphed into a strategic communications and enterprise growth professional working in the B2B space.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ralph. I'm also a recovering CPA, was an accounting major. Most of my career, though, I've been an equity analyst and a portfolio manager, helping to build global equity portfolios.
I'll go first. Hi, my name is Tyler Pizek. I'm studying industrial engineering, and I'm currently a sophomore.
Hi, my name is Amay Deepak Prajapati, and I'm currently a freshman in Penn State. I'm majoring in mechanical engineering.
Hi, my name is Abdullah Al-Saban. So I'm an industrial engineering freshman here at Penn State.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll read through the script and then we'll get started. In this part of the competition, you're taking on a fictional business identity and assigning a fictional business identity to the judges. Please make sure everyone knows who you are and who they are before you begin. You have 25 minutes to describe the legal, financial, and ethical dimensions of the problem and to recommend a solution that passes muster on all three counts. During this time, teams will be uninterrupted. When you are finished, the judges will ask you questions for 10 to 15 minutes. During the Q&A, both you and the judges will stay in character. After the Q&A, the judges will give you feedback outside the role playing. So team, you have 25 minutes. I have a timer.
So today we're going to be presenting about Regrow Agriculture. They are an agriculture technology company, and we're basically going to give them some guidance to improve their ethical approach to creating a sustainable future. So for those of you not aware, I'd first like to start introducing the company and some of the issues we're going to address. So Regrow Agriculture is a mission-driven company that combines things like agronomy, data science, and some technology. And their main goal is to accelerate the adoption of regenerative agriculture and kind of do this across the entire global food supply chain. So they try to help farmers, companies, and businesses measure, report, and reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and also do with other kind of ventures in improving soil health and farm resilience as well. So The company's work can primarily be broken down into two main sectors, the more technical aspect of technology and sustainability overall, and then also the business aspect of outreach and collaboration at different stages. And on the screen here, you kind of see kind of a sneak peek into their about page and what they like to describe themselves as. So the main issue we see with this company is a lot of their work is done with large corporations, when here in the United States, a lot of farming is done by smaller family-owned farms that are sometimes priced out of their business because they can't afford services like this company provides. They have done some work to reach that, but we think there's a lot more they can be doing. And so to provide some guidance to make improvements in that area and other areas, we will evaluate the company's financial, legal, and ethical concerns with the goal of expanding sustainability. So first, we're going to talk about the financial issues.
Hey, okay, so I'm going to be talking about the financial issues of enhancing sustainability in the field of agriculture. So the four main financial issues in this topic would be lack of financial support, highly expensive technology, high market pressure, and then instability of demands for farmers. And the fourth one would be short-term profitability versus long-term sustainability. So our first financial issue is the lack of financial support. We all know that a lot of farmers do not have access to financial resources. This is mainly because they do not get government aids, low interest loans, access to economic programs, and many other like financial resources which could help, which could potentially like support them. And even if they do have access, sometimes they are not eligible to receive them, which is actually not acceptable. And so without this financial support, small farmers struggle to invest in sustainable farming practices, which is often done by large corporations. This makes farmers a minority, and they're incapable of doing anything that needs to be done for shifting to sustainability. And that's why, without taking on loans or any form of debt, limited funding makes it really, really difficult for agricultural farmers to transition to eco-friendly methods. However, we came up with some simple solutions to such financial hardships. Some of them could just include expansion of grants, subsidies, and low interest loans. Governments and financial institutions should increase financial support for farmers who are willing to adopt sustainable practices. This really helps the farmers in covering the upfront costs and reduces their financial risk. The next solution would be creating tailored credit programs. These would be specially designed programs which could give small scale loans or low interest loans to farmers. This could really help them in getting an upper hand to shift towards greener technology and shifting towards more sustainable solutions. And the third and final solution would be building public-private partnerships. This means that government, nonprofits, and private companies can work together to fund sustainable efforts. For example, a tech company could probably like collaborate with farmers, and they could, share tools with each other. The farmers could provide labor to them, and in this situation, it's a win-win situation for both of them. So this was the first financial issue. Our second financial issue is probably the most important one, in my opinion. This is highly expensive technology. So obviously, technology has a wide range of equipments which are really, really expensive. The high cost of this is just like it just makes it really unaffordable for the farmers to get these equipment. So that's why the first one would be that there's expensive tools and upgrades such as irrigation systems, AI-based crop monitoring, or eco-friendly machinery. This could potentially help in increasing the efficiency and sustainability, but obviously farmers can't afford them, and they have really high installation costs as well. So this would be a major barrier for them. Apart from this, large companies can, just take up all the assets and capital because they have all the credits and money to do so. However, farmers, they can't afford it. So wouldn't be able to invest in tech that would help them compete against these larger firms. And the third issue would be high upfront costs, which would, prevent them from adopting such practices. Since farmers are unable to afford such equipment and technology, they're probably gonna, not be able to invest, and they're not gonna be able to, they're gonna have large upfront costs, which discourages them from doing the switch. So, yeah, a lot of farmers may worry that they won't earn what they spent on investing, and because of that, they just won't put money towards technology. But despite the fact that this is such a global problem, we thought of some realistic solutions. Some of them would obviously be reducing the cost of these technological equipments. Government could obviously help in reducing the cost, and then, lowering the taxes on this, and then just helping farmers by giving away some of the technological equipment. The other solution would be subsidies for equipment. Government programs or sustainability-focused organizations can provide financial support for farmers to buy these tools. And in this manner, farmers will gain confidence and they'll potentially adopt sustainable practices in farming. The third solution is shared purchasing models. I feel like this is a really good one. A group of farmers can form co-ops and they can, buy equipment collectively, which would help them as a whole, and they could probably gain profits, which would be really beneficial for them. And this way, they could still earn enough money to return the, remaining capital or like other sources of money. And our third financial issue is the market pressures and the unstable demands. So the market is really unstable. It's really uncertain. You really cannot predict the market no matter what field you're in. And in the same way, sustainable products aren't always in steady demand. There are some months that there's high interest, and there are some months where it drops. In such cases, it's really hard for the farmers to plan their entire income or to predict their production. And that's why apart from that, there's very strict standards. So basically, what this means is that large companies can follow sustainability rules easily because they have all these resources that they require. However, small farmers often lack these resources and they're kicked out of the competition. They're unable to compete, which is a really big liability. And the most necessary or like the most pivotal issue would be that farmers do not have consistent buyers. They cannot count on regular buyers because the market can like fluctuate at any time. So there's a lot of inconsistency in their buying schemes. And yeah, because of this uncertainty, their income becomes really unstable and risky. So in case of such market issues, we thought of a more opportunistic approach. So the first solution that we came up to was stable pricing support. In this manner, obviously the government could play a really massive role. They could encourage stable prices for sustainable goods. It gives farmers more financial security and encourages them to, face the market, all the changes, and then, yeah, it just gives them that upper hand. And then the second one would be fair contracts. Fair contract means that companies should create long-term agreements with farmers. As I said, this would be a win-win situation for both of them. It could, they could compete the market together. It doesn't have to be that they have to face each other. And the last one was raise consumer awareness. We could play a big role in this by spreading awareness in the public about the benefits of sustainable farming. This would like potentially increase the demand for sustainable farming. And when more consumers are going to care about this, there's more consistent support for eco-friendly products, which would help farmers grow confidently. And last but not the least, we have the profit delays in while undergoing green transitions. So this is often seen in most of the farmers around the world. Um, Sustainable farming takes time to show financial benefits, and this discourages the farmers from adopting such methods. Farmers often need immediate returns and they cannot afford to wait for long transition periods. They need short-term profits at any cost. And so without these short-term gains, most farmers ignore adopting sustainable farming and they stick to their own traditional methods. And due to this reason, the entire world has stayed backward in the field of agriculture. So in order to prevent this and, shift the whole agricultural perspective into sustainability, we've come up with two really good solutions. The first one would be carbon credit programs. In these programs, we help farmers connect to carbon markets where they can sell carbon credits to earn some money. This allows them to earn an early income for adapting to eco-friendly and sustainable practices. This early income would also help them in investing into some of the technological equipment, so it would be really great for them. And the second solution is green insurance programs. So basically, these are insurance programs which cover the losses of farmers during transition periods. So whenever they shift from their traditional practices to sustainable practices, as I said, they're not confident and they might have the fear of losing money. This insurance program is going to ensure that their losses are covered and it's going to give them a financial hand in transitioning to green practices. Now we're going to be talking about the legal issues.
So as you've seen now, the financial barriers are pretty difficult to overcome, especially for a company that still needs to produce revenue and isn't fully government funded. But they also aren't the only barrier. There are also legal barriers. And based on our research, we broke these legal concerns into three primary buckets. The first being data privacy and security of our clients, the second being climate compliance regulations, and the third being software licensing. So first, in terms of addressing data privacy, the three primary techniques we have identified are clearly defining our data ownership contracts, implementing data sharing agreements, and developing a cyber threat response plan. So first, with defining data ownership, it's something that can be done pretty easily, but it's often overlooked by companies, and it would make everyone from the farmers or corporations that we work with more comfortable working with us. And then for implementing secure data sharing, we would have to require the consent of our clients before we share their data for other use. And we would also give them the option of being anonymous when their data is shared, like externally out with that, separate from our business. In terms of cybersecurity, this is really an issue mainly because a lot of what Regrow provides is software that allows farmers to do better at recording their emissions and different aspects of their businesses. So they are become vulnerable to threats like breaches. So we would need to train staff on things like data breaches and data phishing. And we would also use different data encryption techniques to encrypt data before it can become vulnerable to threats. So now for climate compliance, it isn't necessarily Regrow as a company that needs to worry about their issues, but more so the clients and getting tied up into legal issues with their clients not following regulations. So first things first, we would ensure clients have compliance with all climate regulations. And then on top of that, we would prioritize data transparency. So this would help to prevent greenwashing, which is something many of the larger corporations might be doing in an attempt to kind of improve their optics overall. But it's also just helpful for everyone involved to understand every step of the process, and it avoids conflict when everyone knows what is going on at every stage. And then the final thing is setting a standard for our clients before we sign contracts. So we would kind of have to advertise what we expect from our clients and what we give them and what they have to give back to us. We don't want to get tied up in any legal issues with companies that have conflicts of interest with um, our mission. Um, and overall, the main reason for all these is to build trust and avoid large conflicts that would taint the image of our company. Um, and the final thing is software licensing, which, as I said before, a lot of what we provide, Regrow provides, is software for farmers to help record their emissions and other aspects of their work. So, in order to address this issue, we would first develop a company-wide approach to software licensing so that no one is unfairly given different contracts and everyone is able to understand what the regulations are. We would also consider open source, and we would ensure that companies have proper compliance when we are using open source software. So this is for this wouldn't be for everything, as we still need to provide services and compete in the market, but certain aspects of our of what Regrow provides could be suitable for open source and becoming open to the public, allowing for farmers, other people involved in tech to make adjustments how they so please. And then the final thing, we would attempt to strengthen our agreements with our vendors. So this would include defining usage rights early on, and including itemification clauses for all of our third-party claims and whenever anyone else is involved. And then we would also enforce penalties for anyone that does not comply with our regulations. And now on to the ethical issues.
Yeah, so moving on to the ethical issues. So obviously, the ethical considerations is really important for our analysis, and we will be evaluating how regrow agriculture approaches environmental ethics, transparency, and accountability, making sure that its sustainability practices are both impactful and also data proven, data driven. We'll also be looking closely at how it considers equity and accessibility, making sure that its solutions are available to farmers of all sizes in the industry. Finally, we'll also consider the broader social impact, especially on the long term. So, firstly, starting with environmental ethics, it's obviously addressing all the aspects of sustainability. So, starting with biodiversity, it's not just about having a variety of plants, it's actually having methods like crop rotation, regenerative practices, and cover crops that don't just look good on paper, but they would actually support pollinators. It would boost the beneficial microbes, and it would improve the genetic diversity in the field. So all these features would essentially make the system stronger against pesticides, disease, and climate-related stress. Moving on to soil health. Obviously, healthy soil would hold water better, reduce erosion, and make nutrients more available to plants. So practices like no-till farming avoids disturbing the soil structure and adding organic matter to fuel the microbiome. And obviously, with tools that monitor the soil's condition, we're actually going to optimize inputs like fertilizers and water based on live data. Now, a method called carbon sequestration is obviously a major opportunity in this, since when soil is managed right, it can actually store and sink a lot of carbon in the atmosphere. So that is also where cover cropping and low tillage farming plays a big role, since it stores carbon long term. And obviously, thanks to new and recent tracking methods, we can actually quantitatively and qualitatively measure the impact of that through programs which essentially can have the sustainability meet the financial incentive. Now, on the emission side, obviously it's about being smart with your resources and not wasting. So precision agriculture helps avoiding the overuse of fertilizers, which cuts back the nitrous oxide, which is a greenhouse gas. We also look at the methane from livestock, and we would reduce it essentially with specialized feed and better management. And even it comes to water, saving water with smart irrigation. which would obviously cut the energy use and conserve the water. Um, Last but not least, we would have the crop output and resilience. So obviously, when we're talking about sustainability, it's not just about reducing the harm, but also at the same time, it's about improving performance. So obviously, when we do practices that support the soil and water health, it would obviously stabilize the yields over time. And that would help when we face unpredictable weathers, seasons. So when we are ready to face these problems with like drought resistant crops or adaptive planning, that would really help the long-term productivity. It is also important to avoid greenwashing. Um, so obviously, all of these points are backed by data, whether it's yield matrix or carbon storage or reduced inputs. So obviously that transparency, um, you know, with the help of certifiers like USDA, or the climate smart agriculture, it shows that the practices are actually legit and it does actually meet the standards. Last but not least, we do obviously have to stray away from the one size fits all mindset. So obviously, every farm is different. You know, they differ in size, and obviously each one of them would need their own consultation, essentially, to build actual custom-made plans for each farmer. So that's why different solutions to different farmers matter, not just one solution for all. Moving on to the third slide. So obviously it would be about being transparent and also holding farmers accountable. So obviously, when we're talking about the clear and accessible information, so regenerative agriculture has proven benefits that I've listed earlier. So for example, using no-till and cover cropping can raise soil organic matter by up to 20%. So that would obviously cut fertilizer needs and improve yields. But obviously, for farmers to act and actually implement that, they would need information that is accessible. So that is the reason why this information will be implemented by simple dashboards or by showcasing real world cases. So then the farmers can actually use these user-friendly platforms to actually know what that data really means. Also, contributing to research is really important. So, obviously, grounding the recommendations in peer-reviewed research, um, with obviously partnerships with universities and agricultural institutions. Also, using recent technology like satellite imaging and AI soil analysis would obviously help collecting that data. Obviously, funding studies too about this, supporting on-farm trials, and joining global initiatives like science-based targets for nature would help. Holding clients accountable is also a really important part of sustainability. So obviously, when we require clients to track progress on metrics like soil health and emissions, that would obviously be verified by third-party audits. Obviously, we would also offer ongoing support for farmers in that sense. Moving on, I would like to talk about how equity and accessibility is very important. So, you know, moving on and continuing on how not all farmers are the same. Obviously, there are some undeserved and small-scaled farmers out there, and obviously the challenges they face would be limited access to capital. So that would obviously make it harder for them to invest. Many don't have formal training or technical support. And when it comes to market access, they often struggle to compete with large industrial farms. So the good news is that regenerative farming can actually be a cost saver. So by reducing dependence on expensive synthetics inputs like fertilizer and pesticides, small farms can lower their operating costs. So also the methods as we mentioned earlier can lead to new revenue streams like selling carbon credits or gaining sustainability certifications.
Team, I'm gonna have to stop you. You're at time. Yeah, 25 minutes. Um, I would say you want to give a final, just a minute, a final recommendation.
Yeah, I'll just do this final recommendation. I know we're over time, but basically, we are confident that regrow agriculture is on the path to making great contributions to agriculture, sustainable agriculture. But we think there are a few things they can do that can improve their approach. And the primary action items we have listed are expanding transparency, data security, improving financial accessibility in order to expand impact, creating a strong legal framework in an attempt to avoid conflicts, and trying to reach farmers and other individuals working at all levels of the value chain to try and gain insight from every aspect.
Thank you. I'll open it up to, I'll start with the questions and then I'll open it up to my colleagues. Thank you for this presentation. It was insightful. I want to take you back through a couple of things and can you help me pinpoint what the true ethical issue here is? And the other thing is, I want to know exactly what you guys are asking regrow agriculture. What are you asking from us? What do you want from us in this presentation?
I'll go ahead and answer that. So essentially, we looked at this company as someone who has a great vision, but doesn't reach everyone that needs the help of that vision. So the main ethical concern here is that they're only providing their best services to large companies that have all the resources necessary to overcome these barriers that are in place, that of reaching sustainability. So we think they need to expand access and reach out to people at different levels of the value chain to try and expand their impact, because we think sustainability is a goal that is where everyone is worthy of, not just the largest corporations.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll open it up to my colleagues. Cynthia, Ralph.
I'll jump in. So thank you for all the research. You clearly understand what's going on in the agricultural economy and how it's changing or has potential to change. And so at Regrow, as the board, we have this B Corp certification. Do you think that that's making a positive impact on what we're doing? Or could we be doing more and not really worry about being a B Corp? Because to me, sometimes I think B Corp means serving smaller organizations. And you're right, all of our case studies are always big organizations. So it seems a little inconsistent. What are your thoughts about how we could address whether or not we need to be a B Corp?
I'd say that it's I'm not very familiar with the title of B Corp, but I think it's more of something as they're within their vision, but they haven't really acted on it yet. They probably gained that certification in some sense and are working towards working with smaller businesses, but many of their largest contracts happen to come from these large corporations that really fund their company because they're not a nonprofit. They still need revenue. So that I think their goal is to really reach everyone like we're advising them to, but financially we've found that that's a struggle often. And there are just those barriers in place that make it hard for them to kind of put that as their primary thing when they get all this business from larger companies.
I like your point very much about that corporate farming or corporate ag is a behemoth, and yet addressing the challenges of small farms, formerly known as family farms, is really essential. So it's nice to have good vision, but acting on it is hard.
Yeah, thanks, Nate. I like a lot what you all are talking about, how scale advantages accrue to big ag and to the competitive disadvantage of these family farmers, the SMEs in the farming world. And it seems like ag tech, like what Regrow is creating, should help to tilt the playing field maybe a little bit more in their direction. So you can scale a lot faster, probably with I guess less acreage under management or whatever. And so and one of the things you said that was really insightful was these shared purchasing co-ops. And so immediately I'm thinking, well, a lot of this ag tech's probably not that expensive, like the stuff that Regrow does. It's not $1 million tractor. It's probably a bunch of sensors in the ground and then a bunch of AI and a few CS folks. And it seems like, you know, is there an oracle of little ag that maybe Oracle's not the best example because they're more catering to larger corporations, but um, I don't know, like data providers, software firms that ship the farmer 100 sensors who then stick them in the ground, and then immediately it's got like two-way messaging. So they can then plug their data science, whatever, into it to decide when to fertilize, how much to water, that kind of stuff, when to harvest, what crops optimally would go next, given whatever the pH balance is of the soil or nitrogen level or whatever. I mean, I see a lot of potential. Sorry, this question's dragging on, but just curious how you think about the ability for smaller farms to be able to compete with this next gen technology that's emerging.
Um, the way I kind of looked at this is when we follow this company, I think it's kind of like the perfect opportunity for a company to kind of become like the voice of the small farmers, like a company that uses software that it's not the barrier to the high barrier to entry that like you said with like expensive farming equipment. It's something that you can a lot of the times once you have like a few sensors and you download this software, it's not like a huge barrier. So we think that if this company were to embrace small farmers and kind of become like a steward of that aspect of the economy, they could be very successful. Um, and then, as I said before, kind of the main issue is still right now, they're still primarily funded by the larger players and the like big ag. But I think the opportunity is there for them to kind of embrace this aspect of their business.
I know there was, time issues, but how, how much would it cost for us to scale into the smaller market, the smaller farming market in growing that type of, growing that part of our business? What's the cost and the return? Have you guys looked at any of that? Is it advertising costs? Is it, is it, should we partner? Is there partner opportunities, stuff like that? In the space to help with it?
I could answer that. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's advertising costs. It's mainly that big firms do not like sometimes wish to collaborate with small farmers because they feel like they won't like get much from them. And then because of that, small farmers are just like left behind. And yeah, the main cost for them would just to like get all the equipment and the technology. And for example, Regrow, it definitely is a software company, but getting all the software equipment and technology in the field of agriculture does require a lot of money. I don't know an exact estimate, but if you like plan on getting like the best technology, it could range from like 50K to like 100,000. But yeah, so it does it does get really expensive, and that's why like most of the big multinational companies, they try to like just stay standalone, and all the other small farmers, they mostly don't get opportunities. That's what I would say.
Mhm.
I have a question around these shared purchasing co-ops that you all talked about. Is it Is that really a thing that, and can regrow somehow be a part of this?
When you say about shared co-ops, is it about like farmers coming together to like raise money for them for their agricultural profits? Is that what you mean?
Yes, sir, exactly.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not sure if there are existing co-ops, but this is a solution we really thought about, and that's why we decided to like talk about it because yeah, this could really help the farmers because like individual farmers might not be confident enough to like do it on themselves. And a group of farmers could probably like, work together and, raise money. And then yeah, definitely Regrow could do something like this if there's like farmers who have not like invested much into sustainability or have not earned much into like farming or stuff like that, they could potentially form co-ops, and I'm 100% sure that would turn out to be really beneficial for them. Yeah.
So I am thinking about the fact that uh, we have a great vision as an enterprise. Um, and we have a lot of good ideas, but we're missing kind of the activation. Even if we have ag tech as a product, we're missing some of the go to market, the commercialization, the ways that we can make a real impact, particularly in the small agricultural communities. So that's a place I think your ideas like about the the co-ops or specific grant programs could be very impactful. But maybe we need a better sales and marketing organization or commercial organization. Maybe we're all just vision people, and we don't have the execution side down very well. I worry about that as a director. Do you think we're executing,
Yeah,
or we just have a really
I'd
nice
say
website?
I'd say there's definitely some barriers. The financial aspect is something that we we learned a lot about, but it's something that not very many people have overcome. There's not much research on or case studies of people actually being successful in doing this. I think it really requires really to be successful would require legislation and government funding, and also kind of just a large movement by small farmers that isn't really a thing yet. Uh, but definitely, as you're saying, the financial aspect is something that we may, the actual execution part, we probably fell short on, but we definitely have great aspirations.
What is it when you say small farmer, Tyler? Do you have a sense in terms of minimum acreage required to be more than
I
like a
don't have it
big
on me right.
farmer versus small farmer?
Yeah, I don't have it on me right now. There's like I should have had this written down somewhere, but it's the official definition of a family-owned farm. It's, I think, somewhere. So I think it depends on like the proprietorship of the company if it's not owned by a corporation. So this isn't necessarily about acreage, more about ownership groups, um, is what kind of is how we classified it in our research. But primarily like farms owned by smaller companies, not large corporations, still kind of can be included in this definition.
And let's give some feedback to this fine team.
Yeah, I guess I don't mind starting on this. Great job. You definitely got my wheels turning about all the ways that sustainable agriculture can become more deeply embedded into this industry. I mean, there seems like this is just a lot of low-hanging fruit and a lot of opportunity. A couple things I think from your presentation. So it wasn't clear to me up front that we were the board of directors or the management team of Regrow and you were the consultants. So I think you get to do a couple of tweaks. Do you do this presentation again tomorrow? Is that right?
Yeah,
So if maybe just in the front couple slides, just make it really obvious who you are. You're a consulting firm. We are the senior management team of Regrow, and we're a for-profit enterprise looking to, we've got cool tech and we're trying to distribute it, and what our marketing plan should be, given the legal, ethical, and financial considerations that you're going to talk about. And then it would be, I think, for me, I'm a numbers guy, so it would be always interesting to see a couple slides to drop some numbers in about maybe the economic benefits that Regrow can present to their SME farmer community to show how value accretive their practices would be. So that would be, maybe go into the financial section. Those are kind of the two biggies I thought off the top of my head.
Thanks, Ralph. Cynthia?
Well, congratulations on really knowing a lot about agricultural sector. More people need to know more about it. And I think you also know a lot about consulting based upon the way you framed the issues that this company was going to face. And just a real quick sidebar, personally, I've been involved with a group out of Wisconsin working on biodigesters for family dairy farms. But, you know, because so many of the big farms, 90% of all the big farms have these and none of the small farms do. And it's a way that they can lower their expenses very quickly and stay in the farming business. So you're right about going down towards the SME family farmer, small farmer. But the framework is important as you go to the next round, because you want to be able to point out the ethical issue of ag tech is great, but it can't just be for all big farms or all big corporates. It needs to be grassroots, and that will drive change. That's a change premise. And how can you do that? You can do that by having more funders. You can do that by having more cost-effective products. You can have that by having more campaign style information. There's a lot of ways that you could help Regrow get into the market stronger. But you know a lot about ag now, and so I think you can just tune it up and you're ready to go. And I really enjoyed hearing all of and learning about this company, which I didn't even know about. So thank you.
Thanks. I want to say great job, gentlemen. Thank you for taking the time to dive into it. You guys definitely have taught me a lot in this presentation. I did not know anything about the industry and how it works. I know farming is important to societies, and so understanding about it and hearing about it is important. I think it would have helped me to kind of at the beginning, kind of really, again, like Ralph said, focus in on what the major issue is, and kind of really focusing the overall presentation. It was tough for me to understand or follow the ethical part, and what my responsibility was or is as the company, to, and I still struggle with my responsibility to the small guy here. I'll call them the small family owned farmers, right? And I think having that clear message of how you kind of expand and scale, and seeing the numbers, kind of what's in it for the company, the numbers would have been helpful, right, to kind of close the deal, or show the path to why it makes sense. That would have helped. But again, great information. You guys are subject matter experts. You know the content. It's just kind of crystallizing it, pulling it together, and communicating it really succinctly. So
maybe if I could just also say a couple things, Nate.
Yeah.
So just a little bit about format. Tomorrow you're going to do two different presentations, and the convention of the 10-minute presentation is that the board asks you to come back, no PowerPoint, and no Q&A, but they want you to speak about the, excuse me, the ethics, the ethical argument that you're really wanting to highlight. And some of the feedback that you got from the judges really point to that. So what is the positive ethical value that you think undergirds the entire proposal that you're making? What is the good and the compelling responsibility to the good that you're really wanting to articulate? Then you've got a series of ethical topics that you identified that are ways in which there's categories of ethical concerns or dimensions of performance that if done responsibly will make sure that this is implemented ethically. But at the base of that is fundamentally a story that you want to tell about the opportunity to, and really the responsibility to extend the good. So think about how you want to articulate that, and then bring in some of the content that you shared. It will be important tomorrow that you share some of the details of this business and the opportunity and some of the dimensions of the farming sector that you talked about. Because the judge will not be expert in that area like you three are, but that really should help set the stage for how you're making the ethical argument. So it's not a business presentation again. You're not doing the financial piece again. You're not doing the legal piece again. You're doing the ethical piece. That's that part of the presentation, that 10-minute presentation. The 92nd is an elevator pitch. And the convention for that is that someone says to you, an executive says, I heard you're working on that regrow project. Why is that important? And what does it have to do with sustainability? And there the focus is sustainability specifically, not ethics per se. So think about the different nature of those presentations as you take this feedback and then incorporate it into what you're going to present tomorrow.